In this video, we're gonna be talking about chapter 1, which is about unnecessary re-renders and a re-render myth. First of all, it mentioned mounting and unmounting, but it didn't really talk about them in depth, so we're gonna just mention them for now as well, and maybe talk about them in detail in another video. So what is mounting? Mounting is simply about when we initialize a component and we add its elements to the DOM so that it appears. And unmounting is about cleaning up when we remove some components that we no longer need them and remove these elements from the DOM. Okay, now what is re-render? Re-render happens when we react to a state update. So we change the view of or some elements in the DOM based on state updates. And it only happens because of a state update. Then it mentioned that React is unidirectional, which means state goes in one way, which is top down. And any state update in this box will cause the box below it, all the boxes below it, to re-render. Okay, then it talked about the unnecessary re-render. What is unnecessary re-render? It's when we have a state update in a page causing, let's try to zoom in, causing a re-render for two sections, some slow components and a specific components that we care about it being re-rendered, but we only care about this one being re-rendered, not the slow components that we have in here. So that's called unnecessary re-render, when we are causing a re-render of some elements or components that we don't really care about re-rendering. They don't care about the state. Nothing will change in them. So it also mentioned something or a concept which is moving state down. What's moving state down? It is when we have a state in here, as we mentioned, it will change in it, will cause the re-render of all the elements or components below it. So it will re-render this section and this section, and we only care about re-rendering this section. So moving state down is moving the state from here to only the element that cares about that, the elements that care about that state. And by doing so, we no longer have the unnecessary re-renders. Okay, let's have a look. In here we have a very heavy component where we re-render a very long list, and we have a button, open model. Clicking on it will cause the re-render of this whole page with the heavy component being re-rendered. So if we look at this button, clicking on it will cause the change of this state, which will cause the re-render of this whole page with this heavy component. But we don't really want it or need it to be re-rendered. So why don't we just isolate this section into another component as known, moving state down. And yeah, we will look at the after now. This is the after. We don't have the button in here, we don't have the state in here, and here's the heavy component, and we have the model after in here, button in here, state in here. Updating the state will cause the re-render of this button and its model, which is fine because we do want it to re-render, but now it will not cause the change of or the re-render of the heavy component. which is what we want. And that's it. Clicking on here, it appears, but it's slow. I don't know if you can notice it or not, but it's a little bit slower. And clicking on this one, it is much faster. Okay, so that's for moving state down. It is simply about just when some component needs some state, just put it inside the component that cares about that state. You really uplift the state so that it doesn't cause other sections that don't care about that state to re-render. Okay, then it just mentioned a render myth, which is about props, that props don't really cause re-renders. Many people think that props cause re-renders because usually when we make a state update, we pass these states as props, so the props change. So yeah, we think that the change of props are the cause of the re-render, but they don't really, they are not related. And let's check it together. In here, I will keep clicking on change ref. Let's look at the code first. So for the code, we have a ref myth. We have two functions, one change prop with render and one change prop without re-render. With render, we have a state update. Without re-render, we don't have the state update. And we have that ref updated in both functions. And we have that ref passed to the ref component where we just display it. Okay, so I have clicked on the ref multiple times. It's passed to here. However, it doesn't cause any re-renders. I see that it's being updated, but it doesn't cause any change, even though it's being passed as a prop. Now, the moment I click on here, I see the value and I see the update, because rendering only happens when we change state. There is only one case when it actually changing prop may cause a re-render, which is if you are using memo, but this is another case scenario where we're gonna talk about it later in another video. And last thing, it talked about hooks, something very basic, or like it's very obvious, but I'm just gonna mention it. So yeah, in here it just mentioned that not because you are isolating or encapsulating or abstracting some logic in a hook means that it doesn't cause a re-render. It still causes re-render. And just say that sometimes when you are reusing the same logic in multiple places, which is stateful logic, you could just extract it to a hook, and that's it. That was the whole that was that chapter. It's the smallest chapter of the book, and it's very simple. Yep. Thanks.